I have started the recording, so you should be good to go.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the winter, or actually not the winter, we're in summertime now, the STS Hot Topics Discussion Committee group today. And can you share slides so we can see the presentation? But today's topic, hopefully you've come with having read the article, but if not, we'll give you a summary here shortly. Conquering Library and Research Anxiety, a discussion for STEM success. So this Friday afternoon, so thank you so much for being here. We will be recording the session. We are going to have a few presentations and then some discussion within ourselves as a committee to you all as participants, as well as open Q&A from the participants. That part of the discussion will not be recorded, so hopefully you all will feel very comfortable with sharing your questions and getting involved. A big thank you to our summer planning committee members listed on the slide. A big shout out to Amy Shelkey and to Kelly Herm, who are going to be cycling off the committee after 2 years of service. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you. I am the outgoing chair, co-chair of Hot Topics. My name is Sandy Avila, and it's been great working with all of you all this summer, as well as another half of folks who have been working for the winter session for Hot Topics. We do 2 of these sessions a year, and we're very happy to be able to put together our professional kind of camaraderie and being able to kind of select speakers and put together some topics that we hope are of interest to you all in the field. A few acknowledgements and some additional announcements. A reminder that we are being governed by ALA's virtual code of conduct. This does govern all behaviors of participants from both meetings as well as these types of discussions. So we will be referring to that in today's Hot Topics discussion. In terms of some other housekeeping for Zoom, you all should be muted. If you have any questions you'd like to add to the discussion, please put those in the chat. We'll be monitoring that and being able to bring you in at that time for questions. If you'd like to enable the closed captioning, please go to the bottom where there's the little more button and click show captions and view full transcript. We do have this session being closed captioned today. And next, for just an overview of what we'll be doing today in the session, we will have an introduction. Amy Shelkey will give us the article summary. Then we'll be doing a discussion on research anxiety and STEM. And we did have one of our members today that had an emergency. So one of us is stepping in to kind of take over this section. So it might not be as robust as originally planned, but hopefully we'll be able to get through that. And then we have some committee discussion questions we'd like to pose to the group before doing a group discussion. So we hope we're able to give you a great session today. And thank you all again for joining on a Friday afternoon. Amy, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Sandy. So hopefully many of you were able to read the article in advance, but it's totally okay if you were unable to do that. So I just wanted to give a short summary of the article. So in their article, Dispelling the Myth of Library Anxiety and Embracing Academic Discomfort, Kelleen, Maluski, and Symphony Bruce blatantly challenge the concept of library anxiety. They question why library anxiety exists as a concept separate from the anxiety inherent in the learning process and in one's academic career. The authors state that their goal is to problematize the concept of library anxiety by dispelling how library anxiety looks at the symptoms rather than the causes and systems that perpetuate a lack of confidence for users within library systems. So Maluski and Bruce set the foundation for this problematization by critiquing foundational research on library anxiety, most notably Constance Mellon's landmark 1986 study, which coined the term. Their major critique of Mellon's work is that her conclusions created a monolithic concept of students and how they conduct research. Additionally, although Mellon claimed to have used a naturalistic approach, her methodology better fits within the positivist paradigm. The authors also discussed the library anxiety scale developed by Sharon Lee Bostick in 1992, arguing that it ignores students' personal identity markers and implies that library workers know the correct feelings or behaviors students ought to have. So Maluski and Bruce continue by noting that library anxiety is implicitly rooted in the mindset that students are in some way deficient in skills, confidence, understanding of procedures, and that this is something to be fixed. This premise implies that there is a single best way to behave in the library or approach library research, and that library workers should fix any incorrect behaviors and feelings. Instead of using this deficit thinking approach that assumes students lack skills, the authors propose that library workers instead acknowledge students' existing knowledge and experiences. Another root cause of library anxiety, according to Maluski and Bruce, is the white-centered view of libraries and librarians. This perspective, the authors argue, neglects the larger systems that might be causing anxiety. They criticize the emphasis on niceness in library culture, considering how the pressure of presenting library spaces as welcoming for all and library workers as nice and helpful lets the profession hide behind good intentions and place blame on students who experience anxiety. Maluski and Bruce argue that this expectation of niceness can mask underlying biases and create uneven experiences for students, particularly those who have experienced stereotype threat. They point out that the emotional labor of niceness often falls disproportionately on female and BIPOC librarians. Due to all of this, the article proposes dismantling oppressive systems within libraries and the profession. The authors call for a shift in focus towards understanding students' needs and experiences while incorporating trauma-informed care practices. They urge librarians to grapple with the reality that libraries were historically designed to be exclusionary and that this legacy continues to shape physical and virtual spaces, as well as library policies. To conclude their article, Maluski and Bruce reiterate that the concept of library anxiety reinforces a misleading perception of libraries as neutral and universally welcoming. They challenge librarians to move beyond a "we know what students need" mentality and instead focus on dismantling systemic barriers and making decisions with the mindset that our students are not monolithic, although our institutions may well be. So with that, I'll turn it over to the discussion of research anxiety in STEM.
Thank you, Amy. So there's a lot there in that discussion from the summary. And in looking at some of the other resources at the end of the presentation, there are several lists of like a reading list that you all can go back and look at if you want to dive into some more of these resources that we're putting together. But in Henderson's 2014 article, Opportunities for Libraries to Address Research Anxiety in Undergraduate Students in STEM Fields, she really gets into discussing the relationship between library anxiety and research anxiety and what can be done to help curtail that. Now, STEM fields in particular have many times underrepresented students who have issues with library anxiety, i.e. also research anxiety. If you have not had a lot of library information, literacy skills, and other types of things, students who are in the STEM fields have this situation where they're not able to really get into the research without having some type of additional help. And these underrepresented groups usually have negative feelings associated with scientific research, and this many times creates and leads them to changing their field of study. So these are some of the things that we're hoping we can discuss today and what roles librarians might have to be able to assist these students with these kinds of these situations. So in looking at one of the articles, again, Henderson, she mentioned STEM degrees are often expected to be equipped with skills and competencies, specifically research skills, in which they do not gain considerable experience during their primary education. So things that librarians, especially our kind of librarian, right, STEM librarians, should keep in mind is that students who already have a library, an anxiety to come into the library for whatever reason, now we're looking at whether the white niceness is a factor in students coming to visit the library, being able to understand that these students might need some additional skills or help, and maybe just understanding that way we don't have issues with retention. This is one of the big factors in how can libraries help educators and higher ed in general retain students. So understanding some of these problems can help us possibly alleviate the issue. I didn't mention the other article from the previous slide from a study from an Iranian university. I believe the author's name is, I've got it here, Ashrafi Rizi. But that study also talks in particular about the feelings of fear and uncertainty associated with authentic scientific research and production. So in his study in particular, he was looking at faculty representations of research anxiety and how that's pertained to STEM fields and with STEM students. And this is not just talking about, say, the research skills that they need in classes, but also in looking at activities that happen outside of library and around the university. So in looking at these other bullet points at the bottom, We want to keep our students in STEM, and a lot of times the underrepresented students, racially, demographically, gender, these are all students who a lot of times fall under the radar, and it might be harder for us to, as libraries and librarians, to be able to engage them or to bring them kind of in to help. So again, I think we've have Henderson 2023 article, and then the Ashrafi Rizi article at ETAL at 2014 as references. We also have some more at the end of the slides. But then in looking at ways librarians can help, these are some of the points that were addressed. Developing lasting relationships with students, making sure that we are approachable and are available. We do a lot of work with research councils and different types of honor students, and really kind of going the extra mile, perhaps helping with basic things like proposals and aspects where some STEM faculty might not feel it's their role to assist students in. Sometimes librarians can kind of come in and help with those roles. It might require that we have extra time built into our schedules to help students through some of that, which might seem like it shouldn't be our job, but this is one of those areas that I think we can really help assist with these kinds of issues. Having course integrated instruction and asynchronous materials can also help, so that students can at any time, day or night, can access those. Again, also perhaps not having them to where they don't have to go into the library to go to the reference desk, but having items where they can get to without that anxiety issue of having to come in to the actual physical space. And of course, working with faculty and letting them know that we are partners in assisting students with those academic careers, especially with those important information literacy skills that some students who they assume would have these skills obviously might not. So being able to kind of work those into either instruction sessions or just different types of research consultations as we meet with these students. Okay, I think that covers it. I think I can turn it to Kelly to go through some of our committee-led discussion questions. And hopefully, if you all have some comments or questions, you can start to put those in the chat as well.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and start with some of the questions that we came up with, and then if you think of questions as we go, you're welcome to put those in the chat too.